What up, world? You are now tuned in to another episode of What's in Your World. I am your host, Salim, Slime, Young Stunner 300, the man.
Holy shit, I love this guy. This is so good. Keep going. No, I definitely keep going.
Peep da perp, perp, Slimy, Young Limes,
Are these really like what people have called
Mr.
you?
Smiles.
Or are you just making this shit up right now? Half and half?
Some are self-proclaimed.
Oh.
Some other people have called me.
Okay.
Or do call me. I get Slime a lot. Like
That makes sense.
at
Yeah.
futsal, like most people, whenever they ask my name and I tell them Salim, they're like,
Slime?
You said what now? And I'm like, just Slime.
Slime.
They're like, huh? Did he just give me two different names? And it's like, just call me Slime. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about my name.
Sadly, it's just like me. I'll say Chaz and they're like, Chase? Yes. Or like Chas? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's my name.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. That is.
At my last job, dude, I was like Chase, Chaz, Ches, Chas, Charlie. Like, it just went on and on. They actually made it a point at one point, like, not to call me by my real name. And I remember after one of the demos for the company that I did, one of, like, the executives or whatever wrote to the team and was like, hey, Chaz with one Z, you know? He was like, hey, Chaz, just want to say, like, you did a great job. And then, like, one of my other coworkers chimed in and was like, yeah, Chaz, you did a great job, but spelled it differently. Mm-hmm. And he wrote back, he was like, did I spell your name? Did I get your name wrong? And then someone else was like, no, I mean, it's this way. And it was a totally different way. And then the other person came in like, I actually think that no one actually really knows for sure anymore. We've just like lost it. We don't know. So it is just whatever you want it to be at this point. It's officially Charles on his name, but like other than that, we don't know what it really should be. Like that shit made me laugh so hard, and I'm gonna miss that. That part I will miss of my last.
Well,
job.
but that's a little different too, because like Chaz is your nickname.
Yeah, it's a total nickname.
Salim is my real name,
That's true.
and people will often think when I say Salim, they'll be like, "Is that a nickname?"
But it just does sound like a nickname.
Sure, yeah, it would be a cool nickname
In America.
Yeah.
Is that like a common Muslim name?
Not necessarily Muslim, more Turkish,
I love the way you say Muslim.
because that's how you really say it.
No,
bro.
but I feel like if I say it that way, I'm like mocking it, you know?
No, dude.
But that's how I feel, you know?
Like, oh my gosh. No, I can't. There's this quote from Rami. I told you about this show, right?
Yep.
And like one of the guys was pronouncing it Muslim, and the dude on the other side was like, it's like pussy. Muslim. Pussy. You don't say
Mussy?
you don't say
Muslim?
yeah, Muslim.
Muslim? See,
Or
I'm
Muslim.
going to botch it. And I just know, like, nah, just stick with your generic
Yes.
white American way of saying
I mean,
it.
Islam, it's the same thing. Nobody can really butcher that.
No, but it's your accent with it. You have that.
Well, yeah, because like,
you have that way
I
of saying
spoke
it.
Arabic.
Yeah.
So like, yeah.
So you have that way of doing it.
Yeah.
It's like a Indian person rolling their R's or something.
Or
It's
like-
just I can't do it like they can.
Yeah. But you roll your R's in Arabic too. And like my
Spanish,
last name
people-
Tunagur.
Wait, say that again.
Tunagur.
Is that really how you would say
Yeah,
it?
because there's two dots over the last U.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
It's like Tunagur. It's like
Tunagur.
very Americanized.
Tunagur is very American.
You know, what's funny is like my last name Romeo is actually Romeo.
Yeah.
So like it used to be Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
And we just were like, we're America. It's
We're
Romeo.
America. Romeo.
Romeo, done.
Romeo.
Yeah.
And it was probably a Juliet.
Juliet. Yeah, you're actually right, actually. I
And
don't
it's
even
not
know. But
Romeo and Juliet.
but it does sound better, Romeo and Juliet.
For in this language.
No, it sounds better.
In this language,
I
though.
agree.
Like if you're
100%.
speaking in a French accent or Italian accent,
probably
Romeo
sound
and
better.
Juliet is probably gonna sound better. You know.
God, wouldn't you love to go back in those times and actually get to hear the real way and see the real way it was supposed to be done, you know?
It always fascinates me the linguistics,
Oh,
you
for
know,
sure.
like the way people used to talk, even in America too.
And the evolution
Yeah.
of even the English language
Yeah.
is like drastically different now. How do you do this? How
I mean, Australians, British folk, even British is there's like 7 different ones within British because
Yeah.
people from Liverpool talk very different than people from
This is so true.
Manchester or London. And then you go to the other side, and Scottish people do not speak the same as Northern Irish people. Northern Irish people don't speak the same as Irish people.
Super fascinating.
But like in America, you know, if you're away from like the coasts, like because we don't have super Southern accents. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I've always looked at it as like there's a generic American accent.
Yeah, I'd
Usually
agree.
it's what you
Yeah,
hear
I'd
is like
agree.
on mainstream media,
I agree.
on
Yeah,
TV.
yeah, yeah.
That's a generic accent.
Yeah, sure.
And then you go around, and we generally have more generic accents.
Mm-hmm.
That's because I think we didn't like grow up solely in this one area that had a thick accent our whole life.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure my parents at least were like very big about, no, you need to speak properly. We don't want you to do that because they're just weird like that. And it wasn't like downing on anybody. It was just like for professional reasons, and it'll help you in this world. You know, but like then you go hear like a deep Louisiana Cajun bayou, and it's like that's another language.
Yeah.
Like they are speaking another language to me,
Yeah.
and I can't understand shit they're saying. You know, but like probably my favorite dialect of the English language. I love listening to them say so. Like anything.
For people from the bayou?
Love it.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me, but like it's probably my favorite accent in the country.
In the country?
Yeah.
I'd say mine is like northern Midwest, like Minnesota, Wisconsin.
Like
Because that's the
Minnesota, you know. Like
well, I mean, it's
soda
not
pop.
quite like that because you
Some
know,
are.
well,
Michigan people, man,
well,
they can get
sure,
thick
sure,
with
sure,
it.
sure,
Well, there's
sure.
always like extremes.
yeah,
I agree.
yeah. Like when I lived in Duluth, it was just not only were people actually genuinely nice, but their voice, the tonality of their voice, just
soft,
like
almost
shouted kindness.
Yes.
You know what I'm
For
saying?
sure, for sure. It has like a hint of Canadian in there.
Yeah, a little bit.
You know,
yeah,
and it just
'cause, I
kinda,
mean,
but it's real like calming and just like, oh, these people are nice people.
well, it makes me think like maybe it's because their mouths move slower because they're so cold all the time. You
That's
know,
actually a good point,
their
man.
irons aren't
Yeah,
firing,
hey.
but then you go all the way down the bayou and they're talking like right,
And it's
because their
just
cells
insane.
are moving so much faster because it's hot.
That's a good point, man. I never
Science.
thought about this actually.
I thought of it as we were talking about
Well
it.
done. That's a good thought because I never really would have put those together. I don't think unless I had like maybe lived up there or something. I feel like life's slower in cold areas, and life is just faster in warmer areas.
Yeah.
You know, but like if you look at the evolution of humans, actually in the migration patterns, to get really deep into this, when the little ice age ended about 10,000 years ago, and the Earth started warming up. And new areas became inhabitable, and crops started growing. You saw people go to those areas, and life started thriving. Population started booming. Things started happening. We, as humans, need warmth. And the only reason we can live in cold today is because it's artificial. We have homes with heaters and jackets and stuff. But other than that, you think people are just going to be living up in Alaska? No, they're like
in a cabin with no sort
this
of
is
heat.
this is really a small, minute
That's
amount of
interesting,
native people who do that. Otherwise, it was all warm areas because you need to grow crops. You need food. You need to be able to go outside and not freeze to death, or your kids don't freeze to death. You know, like that. That was a big deal back then. Now it doesn't really matter. But like, population struggled. Crops struggled. There was only certain areas of the world people lived in.
Yeah, sure.
Until the little ice age ended, and then that's almost. I don't want to get too political into this, but it's almost why I say like this whole warming of the Earth is not bad in my opinion.
Well,
because I get there's a limit. I get that, but I think that a lot of it is like we're statistically speaking through satellite, we have the greenest Earth we've ever had. We can inhabit more areas of this Earth than we've ever been able to. We can grow more crops than we've ever been able to. You know, so like, don't get me wrong, pollution, waste, things like that. Yeah,
corporations being the reason for
BP, oil spills and
95%
shit.
of like carbon emissions. When it's like
of humans, the Earth does way more carbon emissions than we ever could dream of. One volcano is pumping out more CO2 emissions than humans could ever dream of doing, you know? So, like, there's a part of this that I'm like, the Earth is polluting itself, but it's a living thing.
Right.
It goes through these cycles. You know? So, like, I just think like the pollution in the waste bad.
Yeah.
The actual warming, is that one bad? We don't know. We don't know. No one knows. Science does not know yet. You know, like that's unproven shit. We just know that, yeah, if it got too hot, we would not be in a good spot.
Right.
And we know pollution's bad and shit like that. I don't want to get too
Right.
political on this bullshit,
Yeah.
but heat's not all bad.
No. Yeah. No. It's interesting. Because also, we're all gonna die, man.
Oh, for sure. Look, the sun's getting bigger.
But
It's gonna consume us.
and that's not to say that making a change and speaking out and any of that is unnecessary or like, but I don't know. And
The way I
picking battles,
For sure.
I would rather
For sure.
personally fight the corporations themselves
For sure.
than
They
to
shouldn't get away with the shit
create
they're doing.
a corporation off of telling everybody we need to save the planet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I would rather come for the corporation's throats
For sure.
than to benefit personally,
For sure.
financially,
For sure.
off of the world melting.
Look.
Or like,
We are here, in my opinion, ethically, morally, as human beings, to work to make the next generation better than our generation.
Mhm.
That should be our goal. That should be every generation's goal.
Mhm.
And so when I see people who are doing shit that are bad for the next generation, well, yeah, I hate those people. And just because that's the big problem with capitalism, is that it does allow things like that to happen. Look, no system is perfect.
Right.
By any means. And capitalism has its flaws for sure. And that's definitely one of them. And that's definitely why I see okay, I get that greed can be bad. Because when you get too greedy, which people are greedy as shit,
lots of people
then
are.
you get Have you ever heard I just found this one out. And this one blew my mind. And I went down a dark rabbit hole the other night because I didn't know this existed. But have you heard about the hole in the ozone
Yes.
down in the Antarctica?
Yes.
That one, I had no idea.
Please elaborate for us.
So, the deeper I got, and I still don't know everything, so I could be totally wrong on some things of this, but, down in the south, I guess Antarctica, right? Where Australia is and everything, because I know the hole got big enough that it was actually getting to a point where it was opening up over Australia, and they were having bad cancer problems because there was no blockage of the UV radiation coming through. And apparently it was so bad that they had regular billboard signs about skin cancer. Hey, you got skin cancer? You probably should come on down. This was a common thing to them. And from the research, I can't find out how long it's been there. And I don't think anybody really knows the answer to that because people are always like, oh, it's the longest on record. Our records only go back 100 years here, people. That's a blimp in time. I do think there's a lot of evidence from what they have found that the pollution of aerosol and some of the chemicals we were using back in the day for freezers and refrigerants and stuff like that, we didn't know back then. So I'm not saying some of these people created these chemicals unknowingly destroying our ozone that caused that hole to continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then the part that kind of brought this up to me was even when the companies knew it was not good, some of them just didn't give a shit.
And that's greed.
That right there is where greed goes wrong, and you should slap some shit up for that one. That's where the government does need to step in and say, okay. We know this is bad. You can't do it anymore. Fix it now, or we're going to take you down. End of story. It's not about money anymore. It's about this whole world. It's about all these people that you're causing problems for.
Well, yeah.
And now that we've fixed that problem, and the chemicals we were previously using are no longer being used, and we have better chemicals for our environment, apparently that ozone hole has been completely filled back in, and it no longer exists. That's what they say. That is what they say.
Right.
They say this. It was within the last year or two was the final closing of it.
Along the same lines, have you heard about the Monsanto trial? The company that owns the weed killer, the spray.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know how many people got, I think, lymphoma? Which is interesting. My grandfather, it may not,
It's hard to really tell.
Well,
But
the
some
chemical,
people-
the chemical that was an active ingredient
I feel like if
definitely had.
and if you used it a lot, and that was your
Proof.
career. Well, then
My,
kinda
my
hard.
grandfather would use it in the garden, and he had lymphoma. That's not what he died from. He died from like post chemo, like.
yeah, but that can't help you.
But
It
I
doesn't
mean,
help you.
well, he probably wouldn't have gotten that if he hadn't had cancer to begin with. Which
He pretty much died of complications due to that.
correct.
You know, and
Correct.
that sucks.
But that's not to say that's the direct cause, but it definitely could have had some correlations.
it definitely didn't help, and it was
Um,
probably. I would tell you, it probably is a direct cause.
I would
'Cause
too.
without
but,
that, you don't die. Therefore, that's the root cause.
right. And he worked in a dental. He was a dental technician. Like he made like false teeth and stuff like that. He had he had his own company, and so he was working with a bunch of chemicals anyways. But anyways, like that case really stuck out to me. That was one of the first conspiracy theories that I
Dove into.
dove into that involved a corporation. That really was like, huh.
Corporations can go south.
Well, and then you read
God.
about things like Yellow 5, or Blue 40,
Yeah.
or Red 4, or like all these weird like things that you find on the ingredients of cereal and like this stuff, and then those directly correlating to causing symptoms of ADHD, which if you like. There was this crazy thing I had read one time, and it might not be 100% true, but it was like, basically the gist of it to me was all of these chemicals that are in children's cereal could be a potential cause of a lot of the ADHD that we see in our world today.
Weird, because I ate a lot of cereal growing up.
I love Fruit Loops, bro.
Oh, man, I still eat cereal all the time.
Fucking love them.
I love some. I got some Cinnamon Toast Crunch upstairs.
Give it to me.
Oh man, I eat
You
that
know
shit
what
all
I'm
day,
saying?
for sure.
As good as it is, but then,
That's like
It's like-
Teflon. Teflon on non-stick pans. Once you heat them up, they are known to give out cancer-causing chemicals when they hit a certain temperature.
proven to be carcinogenic.
Proven at this point. So like things
Right.
like that are sketchy.
Yeah. Have you heard about so deodorants not only do deodorants use like heavy metals and you put them under your arms, like look at your deodorant, it probably has I can't remember what. It's a metal. But anyways, also on top of that, the word fragrance, FDA, according to the FDA, right? So they approved the word fragrance to be like in like a deodorant or in a perfume or whatever. The word fragrance is an item that is in the ingredients, but that word in the fine print, it can be I think it's like over 250 different things.
So it's like a catch-all.
Yeah.
It's a catch-all term.
So you read
call it
fragrance, but it could be any of those 250
One, if not
things.
all of those two.
And not all of those 250 things are FDA approved. Which is like, what?
So that's when you think like, then what the F is the FDA for? What the fuck are you guys doing?
Well, the FDA is helping out the pharmaceutical industry.
This is crony capitalism.
Yeah.
This is where shit goes south. When you allow lobbyists and corporations to come in there and start paying off people to make laws and shit, this is where it all goes south.
Yep.
I think the EPA and the FDA, they started with great ideas.
Sure.
Very moral ideas to begin with.
Sure.
Totally gone south.
But how many things look so moral, but then turn out like, bro, I'm sure at the beginning of of Hitler's reign, all the German people were like, wow, he's really in it for, the right reasons. He
was
loves
showing
our
the right
country
things
and
for sure.
is
And
passionate.
you know what's funny? I bet Hitler did. To a
I'm
certain
sure it
degree,
seemed
love
like
and
that.
tried to help. And
I'm
try
sure
with,
it seemed like
it
that
did
at
just
first.
went a dark road.
Well,
And like, did he have
greed.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Now, I think he was crazy to a certain degree. But,
Oh, yeah.
But
of course.
there's always some good in the crazy. Like, you want to get down to it, Hitler did a lot of shit that was good. I know that's controversial, and I know that's really weird to hear, and I know people are going to freak out over that, but, like, he started the Autobahn.
It's true.
He changed educational systems. He helped build up infrastructure. He, helped the poor. Like he did welfare programs. There was a lot of things that he actually did that we have the interstate system because of Hitler. When we went over there and saw the Autobahn system, we said, oh, shit, Eisenhower came back over here, and that's the Eisenhower interstate system because Eisenhower realized we need this over here and then created the interstate system. So that all started because of the Autobahn, because of Hitler. So, like, there were things that, it's like he wasn't 100% bad. He just was so bad in some areas that, like, you cannot come back from these things,
you can't.
period. I'm not saying Hitler was a good person by any means, but, like, he did do certain things that, like, still benefit
but then
us
also,
today.
too, like, did he really, He had a lot of people.
I guess that goes back to the previous conversation of how much of Marvel is Kevin Feige.
Right.
He put the right people in the right places to do some of this, and then he put some really horrible people in some really horrible places.
Because once you get to a certain level of status,
For sure.
so many things are being done that are put on your name.
For sure.
Like,
For sure.
I'm even like in today's world, like, let's say like a famous athlete or something, whatever. Okay, then you have a company that sponsors him. All right, well then that company that sponsors him messes up real bad.
For sure.
Next thing you know, this guy's thrown under the bus because he worked. You know what I'm saying?
Name plastered on
his
his
name.
jersey
Well,
or
his
whatever.
name represented that, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And that doesn't match when they do something wrong.
That sucks.
So
It sucks.
It's interesting.
It's a crazy it's a crazy world we live in, man.
Yeah,
And some fucked up things happen.
we can't have our name attached to too many things.
No.
Especially,
It worries me in a lot of sense to like get involved in some things. Like,
Right.
do I want to be?
well, and it causes trust issues too.
For
'Cause
sure.
There are people who may be genuine people, but then what they're working for isn't. Like, for example, I was actually talking about this with Tristan today. Like, I may have like had a great relationship with so and so coach, but they're still working at the place where we know there's a lot of dark stuff going on.
For sure.
So it's like, how
So you have to,
much
like-
can I trust this person now?
Which totally agree. And you have to
know.
like really then understand why they do what they're doing.
Right.
You know?
And, transparency is the only way to get past that.
Like, are they working there because they have to survive and take care
Right.
of their family and they have
Or
no choice?
do they, or are they getting raises every couple months because they're doing, some stuff for
sure.
the man,
For sure.
if you will.
For sure. And I totally agree. Look, this is why I got out. I morally couldn't take that crap anymore.
Well, yeah.
I was starting to realize that I was being compromised.
Right.
And
And,
like-
it goes for so much more than just like the youth soccer in Alabama.
Oh, for
You know
sure.
what I'm
This goes to
saying?
anything, in any industry, for sure. It can go to my programming industry or
Right.
the film world or anything that I do and have ever done. I've seen this. But, like, that one's particularly bad in the sense that we're dealing with kids and their futures. That was the part that, like, okay, we screwed some parents over. I don't really care about them. They're old enough. They can take care of themselves. And they should have known better because they're freaking adults, Like, adult to adult, that's on you. Like, you need to figure this stuff out. But these kids, this is horrible.
Yeah.
Like that, they are entrusting these innocent kids that know nothing about life are trusting us to guide them in the right areas, and they're not.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't, and in worst off, they were trying to then make me not do it either. And I
Right.
thought I got into this to change that and try to guide kids because I wasn't guided
And
well
you're
enough.
trying to prevent me from doing that?
And now you're trying to stop me from that, and then you're screwing me to doing it.
Correct.
I can't. I can only go so far being a
Yeah.
piece of crap before I say that's too far. I can't be that big of a piece of crap.
And it's, I think of it now as like, I guess I try and put myself in the shoes of a parent. You're a parent and you are giving so much. You're being so vulnerable by allowing your child to spend hours upon hours there without your necessarily supervision.
Yeah.
You may be there, but like,
sure.
You're
kinda
you're not
giving-
in charge. By
I
any
laughed with
means.
Chase just the other night that like when I got out of the car, I was no longer my dad's child anymore. Like that's the way my parents looked at it. It's like you're now in their care.
I was free when I got to be on the field.
My parents had no decision making, didn't want it, and now you're in their care. Goodbye. Whatever they tell you. Hey, did they tell you to do it? Well, you gotta go do it. End of story. Like that's just the way. And a lot of parents don't do that these days. But
Yeah.
But like
yeah.
I admired that and they were very trusting of the coaches back then. And I think that ended up working out. I don't think
Sure.
there's anything bad about that back then, but
Learned so much.
it can hurt.
But
There's a dark side to it.
especially if, like what we're talking about, they're not in it for the right reasons.
Yeah. Well, and that particular place brought in people
And still is.
who everybody knew from the very start these are not ethical people.
Yeah.
And the whole play, yeah, sure, they're making more money,
Yeah. Who cares about that?
but that's not.
Is that really what we're here for?
It's a freaking
Coaching.
non-profit
You're coaching-
organization.
It's non-profit. It's non-profit. How are you profiting from a non-profit?
How are you all making like over $100,000 at a non-profit and like continuing to consume? You know, like there's some really sketchy shit there.
Yep.
To go deeper into this, I had like 2 years ago or so, I don't know why I got on this. I can't tell you why, but I wanted to know like, okay, how did this man Hitler, to go back to this, convince all of these people? It relates, I promise you. How did he convince all these people to just go along with this and fight this war? This is not like 10 people. This is hundreds of thousands, not millions of people who just like followed along. So I found this book actually that dove into this question. What was it really like for those people? And how many of those people really, like, what was it like then? So they went and got back like written reports and firsthand takes from the generals, from the colonels, from the actual like boots on the ground. And you suddenly realize like, sure, there were some people who just bought in, but there was plenty of them who understood exactly how bad this was, but out of fear had to follow along because they knew if I didn't, I'd be the one that died. My family's going to die, so they had no choice. And I think a lot of that plays into things like this. That's where I was coming from in the sense of like, I think this may have where I started researching this is like, why was I falling into this when I was there? Why did I just buy into this crap? And it's because I had this fear of loss of my job, my career, the money, got to pay my bills, I want a future, like all these things that I'm worried about. And I start compromising things to solidify that I will keep that role or keep that money or keep whatever it is or my life at their point.
Yeah.
Back then, it wasn't about money. It was like, I will die if I don't do this. You know, like, as horrible as it was, they were ordered to go shoot these Jews straight up in their homes. And even the people who were ordering them were like, guys, I know how bad this is. And I hate to ask you this. And some of them just straight up said no. You know, but like, a lot of them feared their life.
Fear-mongering is
A powerful tool.
well, and the U.S. is using it constantly.
Oh, for sure.
Dude, the desensitization
For sure.
in the media, in movies, that's, you know, people always will be like, oh, you know, like, why don't you ever watch horror movies? I'm not going to let them desensitize me. I'm serious, man. I didn't play video game, like murder, killing video games. Maybe GTA every once in a while.
Which is
Smack
probably the
some
worst
bitches.
one, but like...
Well, but I'd
yeah.
smack a motherfucker and
Yeah.
then drive away.
Yeah.
You know?
Come on, it's fun.
But like at the end of the day, like I can't do that to myself because I know.
Do you really
I
think that
can
was
be-
going to take you down that road?
Well, no, I'm just saying like
Like, that you're going to go around slapping people and stealing cars, but like...
no. What I'm saying is, I don't want to ever lose that empathy. And when you're desensitized, you stop having that empathy. When we are constantly hearing about these mass shootings and these this and these that, we are becoming more and more desensitized,
sure.
and we think it's more and more
sure.
normal.
For
When
sure.
murder and killing people isn't normal. But if you're seeing it every single day in the news, you're gonna get used to it, and then when something overseas happens, you're not gonna be as worried about it because you're like, oh well, it happens here too. I'm not really worried about that.
For sure.
That's apathy. That
Sure.
to me is what apathy is.
Especially when you don't have to live it and you just see it and you're hearing about it, but you're not actually
And you're
living
watching it on TV.
Yeah.
You're watching a police officer with their fucking knee on a person's neck.
Yeah.
You know,
Like, regardless how you see that,
I'm not
there's
gonna
no
watch
cop that should ever do that.
that story isn't even necessarily the point.
No,
the
it's not.
point
I agree.
is like
I see what you're saying.
watching all of that
For
all
sure.
the time, seeing
For sure.
literal dead people on your
For sure.
phone or your computer, it's desensitizing you.
For sure.
And then you stop caring.
For sure.
You know, you stop thinking about those lost lives. You stop
sure.
thinking about those family who have lost their loved
sure.
ones.
To take it down like a notch a little bit, people see these comments of other, on Twitter all the time. Just ridiculously piss poor comments that shouldn't be made, bullying people or whatever it is. And then what do? You start doing it because you've been desensitized to this idea that this is not right. That's not what you should be doing. This is a horrible cancel culture, bullying, cyber shit problem that we have going on. And we just have these kids that are growing up in it, and that becomes normal to them. That's not normal.
And you're more easily controlled when you are desensitized in terms of like what you just described. You are becoming what you're seeing.
Yeah.
What you're reading all the time.
Yeah.
You are what you eat. You know what I'm saying?
You can, for sure.
And
For sure.
it is scientifically proven that when you spend more time on positive things, you not only become a better person, you become a happier person, you become a more empathetic person, you become a more successful person, whatever that means to you.
Yeah, for sure.
And so the
For
media and the social media platforms constantly feeding you that bad shit.
Because that's what sells.
Because that's what
So they
sells.
keep
Because that's
selling it to you.
that's what makes people's eyes do this. Because they're like, whoa, right?
horrible.
But then they constantly want to get more of this whoa.
It's like a
And then
drug.
in turn, they're getting desensitized. And then they stop giving a shit about anything. And it's, I'm going to continue to just like,
Well, this is why as I've gotten older, I have pushed people out of my life that I felt are negative, and these are not helping me go anywhere. These are lazy, negative, not good people, whatever it is. And then I try to surround myself more around people like you, man, who are trying to be better and trying to get better. And you don't have to be the best or the greatest person. That's kind of irrelevant. I want to know that you're trying. And you're actively working to be positive.
you're in the
and-
pursuit of.
Yes. And that will then inherently, it's, what's the word for it? Like, I then get sucked in by it. And then I'm like, yeah, man, now I want to be better.
It's like a manifestation.
Yes. I think Chase and I have always had this weird competitive relationship where, like, we're always trying to be better than each other. And we're always telling each other, I'm better than you at something. And it's never like, you suck.
Right.
It's more like hey, come on, step your game up, dude. I'm stepping my game up. You step your game up.
Yep.
Let's do this shit,
Yep.
dude. Let's be better.
Dude, people who I can be like that with have stuck around so much longer than
For
others.
sure. For sure. And he's
Yeah.
always telling me, I want to be better than you at this. I'm like, well, you better fucking work harder, bitch, because I'm fucking pushing right now. So you want to push? You better work. And I think I saw things that he did, and I wanted to be better and saw those things and tried to be better with him, and he's seen me do things and be better, and he's trying to push to get better at those things. And there's this kind of constant, like, working towards the betterment. And, like, the coolest part about that is, as competitive as we are towards each other, when someone needs help, we don't give a shit about the competitive side, and I'm now going to help you. Like, whatever it is, let's help each other get through this. Because I'm trying to make you better.
Yep.
I want you to be better. I'm not trying to just be better than you and keep you down. Like, I almost want you to be better than me so that I have something to strive towards and try to be better than that,
Right. You're right.
And so, like, those relationships are always, to me, to tie back in, the ones that you want to be around, because it will then inherently make you more of that. But if you get around negative people that are just downers and don't want to do anything,
Well, and
it doesn't work out
in
well.
the moment, it's so hard
For
to
sure.
see it. Oftentimes, people will find themselves making their friends in high school, and then that's who they know, so they stick around with them.
I know this all too well, for sure.
And I've had to deal with that firsthand. I had to cut somebody off that I was friends with since, we were 13, 12,
But you come to a realization that I've got to do this for myself.
And it's not like I resent that person by any means.
Yeah, for sure.
I think also the detachment from each other allowed both of us to do our own sort of
For
growing.
sure.
And not necessarily so that one day we can, reconnect and be best friends again, but because the wavelengths just weren't the same.
People grow
You know,
apart.
and it's not like one is higher than the other.
No, it's not matching anymore.
There's no shape to this.
For sure.
It's just waves flowing in an infinite,
For sure.
abyss that has no shape
sure.
or size.
I hate when people feel this is something I struggle with in my life. I'm willing to admit this. And something I've gotten much better at, but like I'm not better than anybody and no one's better than me. Just because you're a billionaire or a janitor or whatever it is that we want to stereotype, I'm no better or worse than any of these people, and they're no better or worse than me. We're just humans, man. And like maybe you want to do that. We shouldn't attach money and job titles and all that to like who you are and how good of a person or whatever. That's so wrong. It's so wrong. So like, I guess to go back into like, I had a friend from middle school that when we were graduated college, we were in our mid-20s. I'll never forget, he called me up, and he was pretty much like, yo, how much money you got in your bank account?
Oh.
Like, kind of like went down this road of like, I'm going to be doing all this great shit. Like, I need to, you know what? I'm going to help you because you clearly need help. You need help. Like, you're not going anywhere, and like, let me help you out. I mean, Chaz, how much money do you have in your bank account right now? I mean, just tell me how much money you got. I'm like, what's it matter, dude? He's like, because, I mean, it's clear that you need, you're not going right. You're not doing as well, And like, this legitimately happened to me from a person who I'd known for like 10 years. And we had been like best friends, and that was the day I said, we're no longer friends, man. I hate to tell you this, but get the fuck out of my face. And hung up that phone, and it was like almost 10 years before we spoke again. And I like to believe that helped both of us, because now we went to dinner not long ago, and have kind of reconnected on a small level. And he even admitted like, yeah, it was a pretty shitty thing I did back then. And I like to believe that me cutting him off did him as much good as it did me.
And that's the same thing that I'm talking about.
Kind of where I tied it all in.
Yep.
It taught that dude, shit, I just lost a friend because I was a piece of shit to him. And there was no reason for it. And guess what? 10 years later, I don't know if I'm doing better or worse than him, but I can tell you that he's not doing any better or worse. Like, you're not all up, like, how much money you got in your bank account then, man?
Right.
Because I'm sure it's probably roughly about the same as me, man. So, like, did it really matter back then? We had just graduated college, dude. Like, you were making good money at the time, and you felt, and you got to your head. And
Greed.
Greed.
I love this show.
Greed is the symbol of this freaking episode. It's the theme.
Dude, I love this show, man.
For sure. It got to him, and I think then he got humbled.
Mm-hmm.
And I think then he realized he had some hard times and had to work through them and didn't have all that money anymore. He's talking about, I'm going to drive a Porsche and all this stuff. And, like, I just look back and I'm like, what a douchey thing, Like,
oh, man.
It's so douchey.
The closing point or
For sure.
story.
We do need to go.
Yeah, let's go hit the gym.
For sure.
But
For sure.
last night at futsal, this guy, he was like, so I had like sauced him up a bit and scored a goal, and he had like fallen over a bit and got off the court. He was limping.
Yeah.
And anyway, so like the next game, like I'm getting rest, and he like comes around and it's like, Tristan was like, oh, like, are you done? And he was like, yeah, I'm done. Like, I rolled my ankle in a couple games ago, and like, da-da-da-da-da. And then
He just got butthurt.
knowing that, like, oh, well, like, a couple of games ago is when
I butthurt him.
Right. So then, anyways, I, like, dap him up, like, you all right, man, yada, yada. And then goes, hangs around with his friends, comes back around, talking, whatever. And then I was like, well, why are you still here, man? Like, like, why don't you just leave? And not like in a weird way.
Yeah.
But he was like, oh, well, my, so-and-so is my ride. And I was like, oh, okay. He was like, yeah, man, pulled up in the Beamer. I was like, what?
Pulled that one out the ass.
Like, why did you?
Real far
I
to get this one out.
I looked to the people that I was hanging with, and I was like, did he really just say that?
Did he just pull the Beamer cord
Did
on
he
me?
just say that? Like, well, who the fuck cares?
Like, was he
Like, for one thing,
trying to
I
one up
know
you kind of
this-
a thing? Like,
Probably. He's one of those kind of dudes. And
because you're better than him at soccer, he's got to feel that I need something better to be than him. So my car,
it's a whole ego thing.
my
Dude,
status.
but he was talking about his friends. And
even worse.
Well, but what on top of that too, these guys are like right out of high school. That's their mom's
yeah.
car. That's your mom or your dad's car. And if it's and even if they say it's your car, you didn't buy that car.
Hey, you know what? I look at something like that and I say, before I had my epiphany, that's how I was. I saw that
Right.
my parents' status was my status.
Yeah.
And you're going to find out real quick in life, it ain't your status. Unless you're a trust fund baby,
Right.
it ain't your freaking status, dude. And you're going to come to find this out real hard, you know? It's like
Right.
he's living in that bubble.
Right. And I'll obviously much love to him.
No, I know that you have no-
I know that he's gonna phase out of that. Hopefully,
For sure. You just understand
Universe
things
willing.
differently than he does in life.
Right.
And he just
Right.
hasn't gotten there yet.
he just hasn't gotten there.
It'll come.
Yeah.
Life will humble you
Yes.
real
Yes.
fucking quick.
Yes. And you can't get greedy.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But if you do get greedy, hope is not lost.
no, never.
Because I feel like that's a good takeaway.
For sure.
That even if you get greedy, there's still hope.
sure.
Because some shit might happen that's so bad to you that you realize. And maybe it necessarily isn't something bad, but it'll come.
Life will humble.
It'll come around.
It will come. And you know what? Last thought on it, let it happen. Let it get you and just flow with it and learn from it. And don't fight it. People want to fight life.
Yep.
Do not fight life.
Nope.
You
Can't.
must roll with life, take the lessons it's giving you, and move on with your life and try to grow from it.
Roll with the punches.
I want to teach my daughter failure is okay. Learn from it. It is going to be your best teacher and way to grow.
Yep.
And so, like, winning is the small part.
Yep.
Losing is where you grow.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we teach that enough.
I agree.
I mean, you have kids who are bragging about their mama's BMW they bought them.
Pulled up in the Beamer.
Pulled up in my Beamer. I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah, man, we pulled up in the Beamer.
Well, I pulled up in my car and I bought it. So even if it's an Acura, a Honda or like a Kia, let's go with that. Even if it's a Kia, okay? Guess what? I bought that shit, bitch.
Right.
So I guess I'm better than you. I guess I'm better than you, right? Is that how that works?
Do you even know how much insurance costs?
Yeah. Whose name's on that title? Come on, tell me. Did you even know the payment on it? Do you know anything about the car other than you have the keys and you get inside of it and drive it? For real, like that part always cracks me up. Is like life's gonna humble your ass real quick. You better hope mommy and dad are always there for you because you are screwed, my friend. That's one thing. Is like I've told my parents like I want to be off of y'all.
Yeah.
I want to be off.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Because you're not always gonna have mommy and daddy unless you're a trust fund baby. And if you are, hey, go enjoy yourself.
Seriously.
Have fun. That's my final thought.
All right. Well, you hop up
Yeah, I gotta go.
and end the stream. We're going to hit the gym. Once again, this has been another episode of What's in Your World with Salim, with Chaz. We'll catch you next week.